In this video, we're reviewing Drop and getting buzzed up to start messaging people threats with a bittersweet bomb cocktail called the Snaredrop. Today, on the Martini Drop. Shot. Hello and welcome to the Martini Shot, the home of movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails. Before we get into the review, let's whip ourselves up a drink. So for a movie titled Drop, I figured the best way to approach a cocktail for this movie would be a bomb-style cocktail, which is essentially where you take a glass filled with one type of liquid and a shot filled with another, and you drop that shot into the glass and voila, a bomb. You may be familiar with some of the variations on these, like the snake bite or the Boilermaker, but I wanted to make a variation that reflected the fancy restaurant that most of the film takes place in. So this is gonna be kind of a spritz bomb of sorts. It's gonna have a nice balance of sweetness and bitterness, thanks to some raspberry liqueur and some Aperol. And of course, the spirit of choice has to be tequila because this movie contains perhaps the most important tequila shot anyone has ever had to take in their lives. Let's get into it. And if you don't feel like going through the whole process of making the cocktail in the bomb style, don't worry, you can definitely make it without all the theatrics. So for this cocktail, you're not gonna need a shaker or anything, just two separate glasses, a kind of tall glass and a shot glass. So first we're gonna go ahead and start with our tall glass with a little bit of lemon lime soda. And the measurements will vary depending on how big your glass is, but I would fill it up about halfway. And now to help bring out a little bit more of that tartness that's in that soda, we're gonna be adding just half an ounce of fresh lime juice. You can go ahead and set that glass to the side, and now we're gonna build the shot. So for that shot, we're gonna be adding 1 ounce of tequila, half an ounce of Aperol. You're more than welcome to use Campari if you happen to have it. You might find the final product to be a little bit more on the sweeter side if you do. And then finally, we're gonna top it off with half an ounce of a raspberry liqueur. And now for the moment of truth, you can go ahead and drop your shot into your cocktail. Just mind the splash zone. And from there, you're more than welcome to go ahead and fish out the shot glass with a spoon, or if you don't really mind it, you can just go ahead and top off your drink with a little bit of ice. And there you go, now you have the Snaredrop. It almost kind of reminds me of a fruity lemonade of sorts. Obviously the lemon lime soda is the main component, so that's gonna be the most bright and in-your-face flavor you'll probably pick up on. But I do think having that little bit of lime juice in it does kind of change it a little bit, where you get a little bit more of the tartness from the lime pulled through. And paired alongside that raspberry liqueur, it's very nice, a little bit sweet, a little bit bubbly. And you know, the Aperol is actually a little bit subdued. It's not nearly as bitter as I was expecting. You do taste the licoricey notes of it, but you don't really get that bitterness that kind of hits you on the back end of your tongue. Which, if you're like me and not the biggest fan of bitter cocktails, this is actually probably a plus. And you can definitely taste the tequila, but not in a way where you're getting the super heavy punch of the alcohol, almost kind of tasting like a bit of a fruity ranch water. So do you have to go through all these hoops just to make this cocktail? No, you don't. You can kind of just throw everything in a glass and stir it with ice. But bomb cocktails are a lot of fun, especially with friends, and if there's ever an excuse I get to make one, I'm definitely gonna go for it. Now that we have our drink, let's get right into the review. That's right, we're talking about them again. I have not been shy about my feelings on Blumhouse and their presence in the horror movie realm. And if you're new to this channel, here's a quick summation. I hope you fucking die! But today we don't have a horror film on our hands, but a psychological thriller, which some would say is horror's PG-13 cousin. Our setting, a high-rise restaurant overlooking beautiful downtown city, USA. Our heroine, a mom looking to get back into the dating world after overcoming her past trauma. Our mystery, somebody is airdropping her passive-aggressive memes threatening to kill her son if she doesn't follow their every command. Our verdict? Well, I'm about to say something I don't say often about Blumhouse. And no, it's not, it's good, but it's fine. Hey, sometimes you gotta take the little victories. Drop offers up classic thriller setups with a bit of a modern twist, creating a mostly enjoyable whodunit that can leave you guessing and doubting yourself at every turn. Our lead and supporting cast are a bit on the underdeveloped side, but their likability shines through whatever narrative hindrances potentially hold them back. But unfortunately, the film's mystery, while intriguing on the surface, never really has that moment of unnerving genius to it. Maybe because of its derivative nature or its unwillingness to go full-blown nutty with it. It's nothing amazing by any means, but in the realm of Blumhouse, Shoot, it's like finding a diamond after wading through a pile of shit. Though I'm not super sure why I was digging through shit to begin with. The film is directed by Christopher Landon, who, if you've been keeping up with modern horror, you may have seen a thing or two of his. He's the director behind the Happy Death Day films and Freaky, and the writer behind a good chunk of the Paranormal Activity movies and even this year's Hard Eyes. I wouldn't exactly call him a modern horror visionary, but the guy has more often than not delivered on what I would call pretty decent pop horror. I think his biggest achievement in this film is his work with the actors, especially with our leads Megan Faye and Brandon Sklenar. Sure, a lot of the cutesy, cringy first date dialogue they're given isn't exactly stellar, but the two do feel genuine and, dare I say it, have a little bit of actual chemistry. Even some of these side characters are goofily good in their own way, like their overbearing waiter Matt. When it comes to capturing the shot though, I found this to be a pretty standard affair. There are definitely moments of creativity, like with the anonymous text appearing on screen, the spotlight focusing on certain characters, or a moment where a bathroom stall's walls turn into several security cameras. Unfortunately, those moments are few and far between, while everything else varies from bland to honestly aggravating. I don't know what it is with a lot of Blumhouse's films, but they all seem to be shot in a very similar manner. There's no real creative intention behind scene blocking or camera movements, it's all just coverage without a thought about how the camera or the blocking could be used to elevate the scene. This film is a lot of talking, which means you are spending a lot of time in the same shot with these same two characters. But so many of these scenes are just shot with a basic shot reverse shot method, which means you are seeing the same camera angle over and over again. This becomes excruciatingly apparent in the film's editing, which often rapidly cuts back and forth between our two characters talking, almost fearing to hang on a shot for more than a second. There's supposed to be a lot of tension and anxiety here, and something as simple as refusing to cut away from an awkward conversation does wonders for instilling that feeling with the audience in a subtle way. But it almost feels like the shoot was one big mess and had to be salvaged in the edit. As for the mystery, it's essentially in the same vein as Red Eye or Phone Booth. Our protagonist is stuck in one location and must solve a mystery if they want to leave alive. While I wouldn't say this film has the claustrophobia of those two films, it still manages to generate some tension thanks to a large pool of people to be suspicious of and several red herrings to throw you off, some more obvious than others. The idea of having commands airdropped to you kind of feels gimmicky, but I think there's some fun to be had there. As out of touch as some of these murderous memes feel, it does give the plot a bit of its own identity, and it's a shame the film ditches them for just plain old text early on. The concept doesn't always feel like it has much to offer, but the filmmakers do a halfway decent job at tying the concept into the story in a way that makes you believe it couldn't be told through any means other than this. But man, those downtimes between the deadly demands leaves us at the mercy of the script, which is not the strongest. Like I said, a lot of this film is talking between our two main characters, and none of it is exactly worthwhile or imperative to understanding the characters themselves. And lastly, the mystery isn't one of those that really feels rewarding to get to, mostly because it's less concerned with figuring out who's the culprit, and more with if our main character will kill her date to save her son. An intriguing moral dilemma, just not one that ever really feels inevitable. It may straddle the line of reason at times, but Drop isn't the worst thing you could be seeing at the movies. The plot at least has a tinge of originality to it thanks to its integration of a modern day feature, and the cast does a decent enough job with what they're given. It's bound to not really shock you or give you a new view on the mystery genre, but for what it's worth, there's still some decently silly fun to be had with this. The last thing I want to sit through is 90 minutes of a ripoff of Hitchcock and ball torture, so good job Blumhouse for not making me call you the Bane of Hollywood this time around. With this, you're less Bane and more, I don't know, the ventriloquist. For my rating, I'm giving this film 2 devil emojis out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Martini Shot. If you saw Drop, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. If you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.